Quite sure where my last video got cut off, but basically reread these for yourself, really study it out. I'll get the link for the Who is Israel document on the website, and I'll post that somewhere within the comments of the videos, so just be on the lookout for that link. I know that I can post links and connect links to videos when I go to post them, so I'll try to do that. I'm really not technical savvy when it comes to that kind of stuff. So our next verse that we're reading is 2 Kings 17, verse 13. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. So even after the 10 Commandments was given, this was still spoken unto the people to keep the commandments. Okay? Sacrificial law was still in place in the Old Testament. Like I said, when Messiah came and died was when sacrificial law was officially done away with. So let's head over to the next one. That's Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. This is literally our Messiah talking, okay? Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Now we're going to take a skip hop over to Matthew 11 and read verse 13, which is still Yeshua speaking. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. Right? John the Baptist. Now we're going to head over to Luke chapter 24. Now we're going to go to Luke 24, verse 44, and literally, again, still, Yeshua speaking. And he said unto them, These are the words which I spake unto you, while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms concerning me. Because we know that the Messiah was spoken about throughout the Old Testament, and prophesied that he would come. Now we're going to take a skip, hop, and a jump all the way back over to Acts chapter 24 and read verse 14. But this I confess unto thee, that after the way which they call hearsay, so worship I the God of my fathers, believing that all things which were written in the law in the prophets. These next couple verses are some of my favorites. So now we're going to hop back to Matthew chapter 22 and read verses 37 through 40. Yeshua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first of and great commandment. Literally, you go read the 10 Commandments, it's literally the first commandment, right? But it really encompanies the first 5. The first 5 commandments, which we know: love thy God with all thy heart and soul. Thou shalt not worship any graven images above the earth, on the earth, or below the earth. Thou shalt not use the Lord God's name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day holy, and honor thy father and thy mother, which is to really teach your kids the 10 Commandments. And the second is unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. That love thy neighbor as thyself, if you line upon line and you go back, go read Leviticus chapter 19, verses 15 through 18, and it'll explain exactly what loving thy neighbor as thyself is, which also accompanies the last 5 of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, and thou shalt not covet. Okay? Next, this is our last verse that we're going to be reading. Well, verses that we're going to be reading. We're going to hop on over to Deuteronomy chapter 6, and then I'm going to read verses 1 through 10. All right. Now these are the commandments and statutes and judgments which the Lord thy God commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it. So in chapter 5, it literally gives you the 10 commandments, okay? That's what it's talking about. I would go back and reread chapter 5 and read chapter 6 as well. That thou mightest fear the Lord thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe it to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers hath promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. Sound familiar? Our Messiah just said it. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. So that's literally the 5th commandment right there. And you're always going to be dwelling and thinking on the 10 commandments when you're following them. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. That kind of sounds like, I don't know, the mark in between on the forehead and on the hand, that it talks about in Revelation. Which, honestly, the seal of God on your forehead is the Sabbath. But, again, another topic for another time. And it shall be when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not. And that's the end of the verses that I was going to read. If you want to go on and read more, I would highly suggest it. But really, this kind of just shows that sacrificial law was done away with because of our Messiah. It also shows that the 10 commandments were elevated and put in place for us to follow because our Messiah made it easier for us to do so, because now we don't get stoned to death when we break a commandment. So, praise Yah. Thank you, Yeshua. And honestly, I'm going to go back, rewatch this lady's video, and see if I can touch on the second topic that she was trying to bring up.